school nurses of Reddit. What's the strangest incident that caused a student to go to your office? There's so many not nurses here. All good. I'm a school nurse. Student came in with blood coming out of their eyes. Imagine Carrie. Staff were freaking out, and for 1 second I was ready to call 911. I asked how they hurt themselves while putting gloves on, and they said they didn't. Then I realized they also had a nosebleed. So I asked for them to pinch their nose while I pressed on both tear ducts, and within a minute, it stopped. That's probably the oddest thing I've seen. Also a high chance of MANCHAUSEN syndrome by proxy with a student's laundry list of issues, mostly behavior, social, but some health. MBP is such a terrifying yet interesting as a forensic psych major form of child abuse. It's so hard to tell if the parent caretaker knows what they are doing, or if they are delusional. And then if medical professionals get too worried about it, they start seeing it in every case of a parent advocating for their sick child. It's truly awful. What's one aspect that a delusional parent caretaker will always have that a non-abusive parent will never, or vice versa? You raise a super interesting point. What do some countries do that they require school nurses? We don't have them, and I've never been in a situation or heard of a situation where that seemed to be a problem. Kids get sick in school all the time. Nurses take their temperature, see if they need to go home, and also provide students with their daily meds if they need them. They are very important in elementary and middle school. Can't teachers do those things as well? Those hardly seem like tasks you need a fully educated nurse for, to be honest. People will downvote, but I'm genuinely curious. I could totally understand your POV and hope people don't downvote you for it, since as you mentioned, you do not have this service. Where you are from, mind letting us know your worldly location while we're at it. My guess is just so that the teacher's instruction isn't interrupted. I'm no expert, but it's just my take on the situation. A kid had to go because he picked up a Bunsen burner as soon as he turned it off. One of the science teachers at my middle school was demonstrating what you shouldn't do with a Bunsen burner. For example, you shouldn't pretend it is a flamethrower. Well, fire alarm went off and fire department came. Wow. I did this, but with a tripod. We were heating water with it, and we had a Bunsen burner under it for like 10 minutes. Someone put it in the wrong box, and without thinking, I grabbed it by the top to try and move it, but instead burnt my hand. I had to go to the doctors, and my teacher was like, seriously, after I said 100 times to pick it from the bottom. I was like, yeah. Similar to this, I once melted wax crayon as a kid and touched it immediately. I've got one that happened to me. I was in first grade at a small Montessori school with around 100 kids, K-12. Normal day. We had a gardening activity thing towards the end of the day, so my class 1, 2, 3 graders were all using normal and handheld shovels. I don't know why they trusted us with these, but one kid took another's shovel and started chasing him for it. The kid with the shovel getting chased tripped, and the metal handheld shovel flew and hit me in the back of my head. Immediately went to principal's office. I don't think we really had a nurse at the time, and no one could figure out a good way to stop the bleeding till I would get taken to hospital. The principal at that point decided to place a large band-aid straight onto my head full of hair. Went to the and they did nothing about it. No stitches, just a better way to cover it up. I got marbles banned from my school because a kid threw one and it hit me in the eye, and I ended up in hospital. Being hit in the eye with a ball of glass caused one of my pupils to be slightly bigger than the other. This is probably a silly question, but did it affect your vision in that eye? No, it didn't affect my eyesight at all, just the size of my pupil. It used to be a lot bigger than it is now. It has slowly shrank over the years. That's interesting. I thought it might have affected your eyesight even just a little. Thanks for the reply. Teacher here sent a boy to the nurse because his pants were too tight. Poor kid had pants so tight it caused his poor privates to lose circulation. Also sent a girl to the nurse because she somehow picked up rocks off my carpet and shoved them up her nose. Except she couldn't confirm she shoved them up there, and she was freaking out. She couldn't effing remember if she shoved rocks up her nose. I was so done. The school nurse and I would laugh about their nurse passes. Wife's classmate was a teacher's pet type, trustworthy, clever, and still a friend. He was so mature in 10th grade that the art teacher engaged him to prep materials for classes for sextiacr, which is how his arm up to the elbow was mutilated by the pug mill used to knead clay for ceramics class. I did not know them at the time, but I was in the same school district, and that is how pottery classes ceased to be until all the machines were retrofitted with guarding. So I was in a high school, and the freshmen here seemed to be the dumbest generation ever because they would get hurt in all sorts of weird ways. But one that made me laugh is when a boy was waiting for the bus. When it passed him by, he said he started running after it and got mad and punched the side of the bus before returning to the school. He ended up fracturing his hand. My brother knew a guy who stole straight potassium from chemistry class after the teacher showed them what happens when you put it in water. First he made a toilet explode, then when he got caught by a teacher, kind of a hard thing to hide, his pants caught fire because he was in a nervous sweat. Frog dissection, and I dropped a scalpel thingy on my foot and managed to cut through my thin Vans and cut my foot. This is why you wear closed shoes, haha, red veins not Vans. I would been screaming off the walls. The kids had happened to not really strange, but a B-blade hit me in the head when I was in kindergarten. After it bounced high in the air, I was the reason B-blades were banned at my school. I was in my middle school band class when a kid tripped on a step and broke his leg so badly that one of the bones was sticking out through his skin.